Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. This is the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, comments from the General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union about apparent moves to privatize the Transport Board have drawn a scathing response from the board. And General Manager Sandra Ford wants the union to bring the evidence of the plan. In a paid advertisement that is expected to appear in the print media tomorrow, the board has disassociated itself from the statements made by the BWU's General Secretary on Monday at the May Day parade. In that address, Mrs. Moore made comments about the operation of the fleet. General Manager Sandra Ford contends that Mrs. Moore was notified in writing of the infrastructure and systems that were recently adopted by the board to ensure bus availability is increased and maintained.
It should also be noted that far from running down the fleet of buses, as was stated, the Quality Assurance Manager and his capable team have successfully increased the daily output of buses.
Ms. Ford also says she's concerned about what the General Secretary's comments imply about the board's staff.
I found her comments to be an indictment on the ability of the hard-working employees that we have at Transport Board, particularly the drivers and the quality assurance staff. Mind you, the majority of these individuals are members of the Barbados Workers Union, who sometimes go above and beyond the call of duty to provide a dependable service for the commuters of this island.
Added to that, the Transport Board General Manager says the board is in talks with the Finance Ministry to buy new buses to assist with its operations, and it has advertised publicly for a chief engineer as it works to continue engaging the expertise of reputable and knowledgeable individuals to assist with the maintenance of the more than decade-old fleet. The Barbados Union of Teachers is calling for dialogue with the Ministry of Education to see how best schools can be made safe. The call follows an incident at the Parkinson Memorial School yesterday afternoon in which a student damaged a teacher's car window with a rock. Police, education officials and BUT President Pedro Shepherd were called to the school, which was later dismissed. Mr. Shepherd says the student involved was recently suspended, but somehow managed to re-enter the school compound after being escorted off. The BUT official says there are too many cases of students acting up in schools.
Students who have a lot of personal problems, social problems, and we have been calling for additional guidance counselors in schools, etc. But I don't think that an additional guidance counselor in schools is really the solution to these problems. I think there are too many of our students who are in positions where they are challenged, where they're not getting the family support, etc. And something has to be done. I don't know if we can look at building an institution. We just had the New Horizons school, but again, that can only hold so many. So what are we going to do with the number of students in our schools who are displaying these acts?
Mr. Shepherd reiterated that the union has been castigated for saying schools are becoming war zones, but he says such matters should not be swept under the carpet. Mr. Shepherd says a strong message has to be sent that even though children have challenges, there are still standards that must be maintained.
It comes down again to the security at schools. Schools such as the Parkinson Memorial, St. Leonard's, these large plants. How are we going to be able to provide enough security that you can, secure the compound, you can be visible on the compound and see these breaches? Because a lot of these students enter these schools while they're on suspension, not only through the main gate, but they enter through breaches and the fences and so on. So there's a real challenge for us, and I believe that the ministry has to look at it.
In light of concerns of violence at schools, the St. Philip South Constituency Council has made a timely donation to the Reynold Weeks Primary School. The school was today presented with a security system from the council. Principal Anderson Bishop says it will come in very useful for staff and students.
Parents will feel comfortable when they leave the students at the school. The lecturer also says that when students work in a secured and safe environment, their performance is enhanced. And additionally, it's important also for teachers, because when teachers teach in a safe and secure environment, the teaching and learning experience is enhanced, productivity is increased, and therefore students' performance would improve as well.
Project officer at the St. Philip South Constituency Council, Wosley Holder, says the donation is part of a long-term commitment to the school.
What we want to do is partner with the Parents Teachers Association and the school in order to make the school a better school in and out of the community. And this is our first step, and we intend to continue working with the school as long as we could.
Parents should be allowed to discipline their children as they see fit. That's according to Director of the Criminal Justice and Research Planning Unit, Cheryl Willoughby. She, however, believes that the type of discipline should be specific to the child and the incident.
Because invariably, if I don't discipline, at some point in time, when I renege on my responsibility, it turns to the police or to the criminal justice system to divert that child from further criminal behavior. And so I will not get on the bandwagon and saying we should flog or we should not flog. What I'm saying is that we should discipline our children in such a way that they understand that certain behaviors are not going to be appreciated or are not right.
While not stating whether she is for or against corporal punishment, Mrs. Willoughby says research shows that the absence of such is usually detrimental to society.
We continuously stress that we should seek alternatives to flogging, but I am yet to hear what those alternatives are. And I have seen from my own research as a criminologist that some of the jurisdictions who have banned, who have prohibited flogging, crime among young people are escalating on an annual basis.
5 out of 10 children who go before the juvenile courts have mental issues. This disclosure from Supreme Court Registrar Madam Justice Barbara Cook-Allen, who believes early treatment is key.
When we looked at the issue of their psychiatric and psychological concerns, we realized that 50% of the children coming to juvenile court had those issues. Now what this means is that we have to start from early to recognize. Parents normally are in denial, but teachers would recognize the signs of it. So we need to have a session with teachers, with the Ministry of Education, and make sure that those children that you recognize have an issue dealt with while they're at primary school. Whatever they need to have to control the behavior, be it ADHD, whatever it is, we can actually help them with that.
She was speaking at the launch of the 9th in the Winner's Circle program, which assists primary school children preparing to enter secondary school. Close to 800 students from southern schools will benefit from the program this year. Madam Justice Cook-Allen says the topics to be discussed are the main issues surfacing in the school and court system.
We're looking at bullying, particularly stressing cyberbullying. That's the use of bullying in the 21st century, in the latter 20th century. We look at family planning from the aspect of your body and you. They're going through puberty, and we can't bury our heads in the sand, recognizing that there are changes physically and hormonal and emotional. I need to have them know exactly that they're supposed to make sure that they abstain from sex at this young age. Looking at drug use, it is a reality. When we check the stats, even if they don't come to court for drugs, there have been some drug use among the youth, and it's a high percentage of persons who have actually encountered drug at some form or manner.
Well, it's celebration time for one of the radio stations here at the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. Yesterday, Q1070 FM turned 13, but they mark the anniversary today. Rianne Phillips has more.
Thousands came out in their orange, the color of Q, to help the station celebrate its 13th anniversary at the Netball Stadium.
It gives the patrons here an opportunity to see some of the personalities that they may not often see, and just to be with the ones that they see often. Mark Anthony passed through. We had Merle Jordan from the M&M crew on Saturday mornings. Wendell is on here, but he's going to come down as well. Archie is here, Kimberly is here, Andre is here, all part of the Q team.
For the Q family, Thursday is the best day of the week.
I like being with my friends. I like meeting new people.
I have been coming to Q from the time in morning glory time, and I love Q. What I like about it is the friendliness of the people, like meeting people, and most of all, to be with my togetherness social group.
I enjoy every moment of it.
It's more relaxing, a good day from work, and I look forward for it every Thursday. And most of all, to be with all of my girls here on Thursday is really, really inspiring. And my favorite personality is Archelaus.
I was in Q actually from the inception, and I love it. That's why I love to come on Thursdays. Say I have this disability, and I don't start home on Thursdays.
I love Q, and I don't care what nobody's saying. Once there's a Rosie, there's a Q. And I gain a lot of friends and respectable friends at Q. So even if I work up, let me tell you, I work up very bad.
The atmosphere, the music, the people, right? And Q, my recreation day. I just work from Monday to Friday, and Thursday is my recreation day.
Several linkages were formed in the last 13 years.
I hear from about the first time Q start, me and DJ Rocky Supercat, then Culture Man come in Scorpion. So 30 years, big up, respect, love it, every Thursday the place to be. Q in the community.
Meeting different people, the personality and the stories, like Archie and the rest of, and Joanne and some other people out here. You kind of like to hear the story from all the people.
The Q team promises to maintain its high quality going forward.
Keep listening to Q100.7 FM, and a big thank you to all of you who sent us birthday wishes. Thank you very much. We are family. We are Q100.7 FM.
Brianne Phillips, CBC News.
Thanks, Rihanna, and happy birthday, Q. Well, switching gears now, coming up after the break, police investigating a death in St. Peter.
Get ready for some Caribbean fun with Liat, the Caribbean airline, as we take a peek into summer and beyond. Book yourself a Caribbean getaway now and get 25% off all Liat fares for travel between July 1st and November 15th. But you must book on or before May 7th. Use promo code PEEK for this sweet summer deal of 25% off. Call our reservations department, your local travel agent, or visit liat.com to book. But hurry, limited seats available. Terms and conditions apply.
Diamond Dazzler, it's time to play. Diamond Dazzler, the new instant $250,000 scratch game from the Barbados Lottery. Available at select lottery outlets.
I'm just a DJ, baby, mixing for you.
Only one station delivers the soundtracks of your life.
Hey, we're 94.7 FM, the University of Musical Diversity, the most frequently frequented frequency in the Caribbean. I'm the Admiral.
Put on your dancing shoes and get on the dance floor. We've got all of your classic jams right here at 94.7 FM with me, Jaquila, in the midday.
It's Valentino Tempo all over your radio right here on 94.7 every weekday afternoon, 2 until 7. It's your afternoon getaway. So join me right here, the greatest hits of the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and now.
94.7 FM.
A death in St. Peter has shaken and confused the Rose Hill community. 57-year-old Anson McLaren Boyce, described as nice and peaceful, was found dead in the house he shared with his brother. Denise Blackman has the details.
When 64-year-old Ashford Boyce returned home to Skeets Road, Rose Hill after a walk, he was not ready for what he found. Around 12:30, he discovered his younger brother, 57-year-old Anson Boyce, dead within the house, drenched in blood. Neighbors are scratching their heads as to what was behind it, and some suspect foul play. Police, however, are right now treating it as an unnatural death.
We cannot establish yet what injuries there are to the body, since the body has blood on it. So before the forensic persons are yet to examine the body and examine the scene to see what has really happened here.
Neighbors remember Anson Boyce as a peaceful man who kept to himself, often remaining inside with the doors locked.
He was a loving person. Sad to hear.
When he got grown food, he used to call me, said, Sims, I got something here for you, come for it.
So I was home late about 2 o'clock, and I received a call. A guy told me, Sims, to find your body in the house dead. So when I come, I see the people, and I feel a little sad. He never was a trouble tree. That's the gospel truth. You know, you see it all the time, but I can safely say he's not a trouble tree.
His nickname within the community where he was born and raised is Old Hat or Wahat, and he was unmarried with no children. Police are asking for the public's help.
We're asking members of the area if they have any information regarding this unnatural death, that to please contact the District E Police Station or call the police emergency line at 211 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIPS or 8477.
Anson Boyce was known as an excellent keyboardist, having performed on the cruise ship circuit in the past. Denise Blackman, CBC News.
Thanks, Denise. Barbados' relationship with Canada continues to bear fruit. According to Commerce Minister Donville Innes, Barbados is the third largest recipient of foreign investment from that country. He was speaking at the official opening of the Barbados Entertainment Complex. The Warrens-based facility is owned and operated by Canadian parent company WA Ventures and Enterprise Inc.
Because I saw up to 2 years ago, this little island was managing assets of businesses with a value of about 77 billion Canadian dollars. I always tell my Canadian friends, particularly those who sit in Ottawa, I like to call us strange names, that that money is not money in Barbados. That's just the value of the entities that are Barbados-based and Canadian-owned and doing businesses internationally. So Canada remains our main source market in the international business sector. That's based on the treaty we have in place with Canada. This worked really well. I'm grateful that you're taking advantage of it, because it shows to the world that this little island sitting here in the Eastern Caribbean is playing a very significant role in global business.
Culture, Sports and Youth Minister Stephen Lashley hailed the centre for combining both cultural and sporting elements.
Individuals prefer something that generates more fun. And the Barbados Entertainment Complex seems, in my view, to meet that need. The family can participate together, friends can come and have fun, and in a sense, they can also get some physical exercise as well. This, in my view, will go a long way in countering the ravages of chronic non-communicable diseases, which we are currently trying to manage and reduce, of course, our health care bill.
Surpassing all expectations. That's how operators of the Barbados Entertainment Complex have summed up their first month in Barbados. And the complex managing director, Sharon Anthony, says plans for expansion are already being considered.
So phase 2 of our Barbados Entertainment Complex is expansion. We do know what we'd like to bring in next year. We already have the drawings, we already have the schematics for it. We just need the space, and we're hoping that our facility that we're at now will, the additional 10,000 square feet will open up in the next year and a half. And that will allow for us to grow at this facility. And I would like to have a smaller subset, a smaller, more mobile version of BC that we can then bring to, I think, about St. Lucie area, because again, underserviced population. There is no reason why people at the northern tip of the island can't get something the same thing at the southern tip of the island can get.
Barbadians are being told that they do not need large plots of land to be successful at producing high levels of crops. The advice is coming from Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office, Senator Darcy Boyce. He says smaller lots have the capacity to produce large yields once the right technology is used. Senator Boyce was speaking during yesterday's debate in the Upper House to acquire land at Brighton St. George for housing purposes.
Indeed, there was a study done many years ago that showed that, I think it was the grand figure of 8,000 acres was enough to feed Barbados fully. I think many years ago, a consulting report was done. So we have to be careful how to frame the question of how much land you need in agriculture, to be able to give you food security, given technology has changed and given that the market has changed.
Labour Minister Senator Dr. Esther Bayer-Suku says government has already provided thousands of housing solutions and that the land being acquired would give more families an opportunity to be homeowners.
When the model is finally articulated, this can bring at least another 100 or so housing solutions as well to the people of St. George, to Barbadians in the parish of St. George. But you know, it's not just for the people of St. George. Along with the other work at Upper Brighton and Lower Brighton and so on that is going on, we are continuing our program of housing every last person. And I look forward to the day when every last person will have access to affordable and safe housing, which is what we have committed to.
Veteran trade unionist Senator Sir Roy Chapman wants government to ensure people buying their state-owned housing units get the property titles as soon as possible. Noting there has been too much of a delay in finalizing the transfer of titles to the tenants, Sir Roy suggested the need to move much faster.
I don't claim to understand the reason for the delays, but I would wish to suggest to the leader of government business pro tem that we would want to examine the percentage and to see what we could do to speed up the exercise in conveying those properties. I think it's very important, if we want to remain true to the commitment which we made, that we do not leave any stone unturned, whether that's purely due to technicalities or whatever the other reasons may be.
Contrary to popular belief, a medical practitioner is suggesting there's no safe limit of alcohol that can be consumed. Trinidadian Dr. Zeno Charles made the comment at the second Nutrition Conference and Health Expo held at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center. He also says alcohol use can contribute to some non-communicable diseases.
We analyze the data. We know today that there is no safe level of alcohol intake. No safe level of alcohol intake. So the idea of taking a drink now and then or a glass of wine with your meals, even though this has been promoted as something that is benign or maybe even helpful in terms of coronary artery disease, the reanalysis of much of that data has shown something to the contrary. So today, from a public health standpoint, we know that there is no safe level of alcohol intake.
The conference, which was organized by the Caribbean Institute of Nutrition and Dietetics, focused on obesity.
But in 1975, obesity was declared a disease. So hence, it's like a forgotten, or we don't think about it as a serious thing. So you hear, okay, this person is overweight. And right there, when you're looking at the BMI, between 25 to 29.99, that is where, in my opinion, everything is brewing. So years ago, they never used to be concerned about persons having a BMI above 25. But now they are concerned because they're realizing that over 25 to 29.99 is where persons need to be concerned.
We'll have news from the region after this break.
Are you ready? Let's go! Take it to the squats, guys! That's it, breathe in. We're gonna take it back low. 6, 7, and take it smooth. Body on. Faster. Take it out. Take it out.
Mondays to Fridays at 5:30 a.m. Repeated at 5:30 p.m. Sponsored by Fresh Vitamins on CBC TV 8.
Which of the 7 dwarfs describes your wife in bed? Name a celebrity who has a big mouth and is not afraid to use it. Daryl.
Steve Harvey.
Watch Family Feud at a new time, 6 p.m. weekdays on CBC TV 8.
In Guyana, there seems to be a compromise between City Hall and city vendors after more than a year of disputes. Javon Vickery spoke with the town clerk and filed this report.
After displacing scores of vendors, some of whom for illegal vending in city markets and around Georgetown, it seems that the mayor and city council has had a change of heart towards vendors.
Vendors, many of them are single parents. They have to eat. They have to put bread on the table. We couldn't keep them off of the road. We couldn't prevent them from doing their businesses. So we are allowing them to ply their trade wherever they're plying their trade in various parts of the city, particularly in the central business district, so long as they do not block entrances and exits to legitimate business places.
According to Town Clerk Royston King, the municipality is still in the process of providing temporary and, for some, permanent vending facilities. Specifically, vendors in Border Market, displaced last year after some 30 years, have been given the authorization to ply their trade without fear of displacement.
Give some clarity as to what has happened since, because in the minds of people, it may seem that City Hall allowed them back there, but what's the present situation?
The present situation is that we are in the process of looking at various options to house vendors. It is the president's view, and we agree that vendors should be placed in proper facilities to do their business. At the moment, we are unable to do that.
Mr. King stated that while City Hall understands the plight of some vendors, environmental management is also important, specifically regarding waste management.
Because as you know, we have registered vendors, we continue to register them, and they have certain agreements that they have agreed to keep while they're doing their business, while they're plying their trade, and that they should have proper receptacles to dispose of their garbage in an environmental friendly manner, and so on. So once they're doing that, we are allowing them to ply their trade and to do business.
It was the same town clerk back in 2016 who led a delegation of city officers to dismantle several stalls in front of the Bedford building in Border Market. Other vendors in the Stabroek Market region were also removed.
Grenadians have been told by their National Disaster Management Agency to expect more eruptions of the underwater volcano Cbc. The volcano reported increased activity on Wednesday. In its latest advisory bulletin, NADMA said it continues to collaborate with the Seismic Research Center of the University of the West Indies to monitor activities at Cbc that became active over the last weekend. Volcanic episodes at Cbc since 1939 usually consist of several eruptions lasting over several days before returning to repose. NADMA said that the alert level remains at yellow and that vessels should observe a 1.5-kilometer exclusion zone. It also urged the general public to be responsible about the use of social media on the matter. In Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is urging Trinidadians not to listen to the opposition when it comes to the impending implementation of the property tax.
Speaking at a public meeting in Diego Martin on Tuesday night, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says the property tax is necessary and explained how the surveying agency went about determining how the tax is calculated.
Property would rent for, or that you have to pay $3,500. And that is the annual rental, $3,500 a month. So the annual, meaning the 12 months of the year, rental value, meaning what the landlord will get if he rents at that, is $42,000. So you establish that figure. The tax law says you will take 3% of that $37,800, and therefore your property tax is $1,134. A monthly sum of $94.50.
The opposition has encouraged homeowners to refrain from paying the tax, but Dr. Rowley says don't buy into the hype.
They're selling one Zabuka for $40, but you have a problem in paying $10. People of Trinidad and Tobago, get me the program. Don't disturb and upset yourself by people who are telling you foolishness. This tax is structured to ensure that there is no pressure on persons on agricultural land.
In Bonaire, law enforcement officials have identified the body of a woman who was stabbed several times to be that of a missing Mexican national. She was a crew member of the Navigator of the Seas. The 23-year-old went missing on April 20th. Her body was discovered buried after police used video from surveillance cameras in the capital to get a description of the man with whom she was last seen. 3 raids were also conducted, one in which a gun was found and the male resident was arrested for illegal arms possession. It later turned out the suspect had access to the area where the woman's body was discovered. We'll take you into the world of sports.